So maybe we'll do that. Be right back. Okay, great. Okay, it just turned 7 o'clock. I guess we'll get started with this review session. I'm thinking that first we'll do something similar to what we did yesterday. Probably sending some API request and then, you know, rendering it to the browser, rendering it, you know, to our page. And then after that, I'm hoping that to go do like a little like data structures thing. Like I think it'll help make it make kind of like what's happening behind the scenes with like arrays and other data structures just a lot more clear. In fact, I kind of want to start with that actually. Well, we'll start with the JavaScript. You know, it's more, it'll help prepare you guys for this week's homework, right? So I'm going to pose like a lot of questions to all of you, and you know, just like feel free to like talk on the mic or, you know, put it in the chat, and you know, offer what you think, you know, or if you have, or something doesn't make sense, like this is really our chance to go over everything on like a really granular level. So like even like the really small stuff that we kind of just like passed over because of the really like ridiculous pace that we have in this class, right? So, okay. How's that sound to everybody? Hey, how are you? So, okay. So if you're not like speaking, I'd recommend just like turning off your mic. You know, we just get so much, we get a lot of feedback easily. Yeah, thank you. But if you have something to say, just turn it off and you can just chime in, okay? So, yeah, let's do something where we kind of, we render some API requests. So for your guys' first project, you're gonna start toying around with APIs for the first time, really. So let's see. I don't know. I just saw it earlier. Where is this? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen actually in a second. Let me pull something up real quick. Okay, great. All right, so I'm going to share my screen actually. And here we go. Great. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So this is a really good, let me put it in the Slack, actually. This is a really good link for finding just like public APIs, ones that like we don't have to go through all the OAuth and all that other like really like challenging stuff. So like this is just a good resource to hold on to. So I'm going to put it in our announcements. Okay. So as we can see here, it gives us like a bunch of different areas, like topical areas to pick, like, you know, different databases, things like that to use. So what do you got? Any of these topics sticking out to anyone? Someone jump in.
Photograph.
What's that?
Photograph.
Photography. Okay. Okay. You know, so most of these require OAuth. So I don't want to use these right now because, you know, we'd have to get into like getting our Facebook authentication or Google working. Be a lot of work. So maybe food and drink. I don't know.
How about the Google Map? Because
Oh, okay. Can I see where the chat was? No. Did somebody just put something there? Okay. Well, anyways, should make myself available. It's probably a good call. Okay. Ticketmaster. So maybe this would be a good one. Ticketmaster. Let's see. I feel like that might be fun. But is it easy or is it tough here? Okay, so it looks like let's see. Invalid API key. Okay. But it looks like it wants OAuth here. I saw like it said through an error here. Well, you know what? We'll do. I know like the trivia one is like really easy. So maybe that's under like games here. Open trivia. I've used that one. I know it's like really chill. So, okay. So let's get started here. So right here, I'm using a code editor called Atom rather than Visual Studio. It's pretty cool. Like it gives you a lot more like help with like autocomplete and things like that. So it's just a lot faster for doing like boilerplate stuff. So like after the boot camp, maybe I'd recommend some of you move over to it. But like when you're learning, nothing beats just like writing things out like the long ways. But it allows you to do stuff like this, like just to get the boilerplate. So, okay. So let's see. Whenever I start doing something like this, like I think about, what I'm going to want to, display here. I'd like to do one like that would give us like a little better visuals than like a trivia one, like, is there one for music? Maybe I could do the New York Times one. Oh boy. Yeah, okay. I might try to do this one. Okay. If it doesn't work, we'll website. Oh, they're probably saying that we want just, I mean, does it actually require something? Oh, well, they probably want, no. That's not very good here. And that just puts me back to here, so. Okay. So maybe we'll try this one. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's just keep it simple. We'll do. Actually, I think we can do the Yelp one, even though it's OAuth. I think I have like a workaround maybe. So let me see. One sec. One of the students passed me this. No, we'll do the trivia one. We'll keep it simple. I don't know why I'm making this hard. Okay, so anyways, all right, so let's see. I'm going to want some place to put these questions, right? So maybe we'll add some interactive thing. We'll see. But for now, let's just make them render. So, okay. I'm going to call this like ID equals questions. Okay. So let's talk real quick about, what's, and oh yeah, let's get like just something in here, like we'll console log, something, just see if it's hooked up. Hello. Okay. And then, right, so we have to put in the script tag here, which basically just says, run this file. When the browser comes to this script tag, just run this file. Okay, so I'm going to copy the path here. Okay. Now we pop open the inspector. Okay, we can see hello. So let's talk real quick, just like what's happening when we do like, put in like, GoDaddy.com or something like that. Okay, like what is happening with the browser? Is someone, like when we put it in here, GoDaddy.com is like basically kind of like an alias for some server somewhere. And our local machine kind of like enters basically like a handshake agreement with GoDaddy's servers. So we send them a request, like our local machine. And then their server responds back, hey, you're authorized to receive some response from us. Okay. So then we send them another request to like, and then they respond back with all the HTML and everything. And then it loads, our browser takes their HTML and loads it up from top to bottom, right? It just evaluates it going down. And then your browser has like a built-in JavaScript engine. Now, this JavaScript engine basically takes your HTML and builds it into, the document object model. This whole thing that, gives us an ability to manipulate everything on the page. So let's see. If I did like, we'll say, put like some other stuff in here. Like trivia game, I don't know. Whatever. Okay. Put like P, just 10 questions, something like that. Okay. So now we see it here, right? So this is the document. This is what the browser has taken all this HTML and built it into.
It might just be me, but we can't see the screen.
Oh, whoops. That's a good call. Thank you. You definitely, yeah. Okay, so let me see here. Good call. Thank you for that. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. No. All right. So the browser, right, takes all the HTML and builds it into our document, right? And the document has all these great, methods built onto it. Now, just let's see. Okay. Now, all right. Okay, so we'll put it up here for a sec. Now, if I was to do like, when this file runs, maybe I want to change 10 questions to, or maybe I want to add 10 questions and then say like, you know, the date or something. I don't know. Let me think. Yeah. Okay. So 10 questions. We'll say like when the game starts, we'll add like play now to this. So maybe let me do this and say like title, right? I just put an ID here, right? So these are 8, you know, attributes, you know, just to clarify some of the terminology we use in this class, right? The attributes are basically these key value pairs defined on your HTML elements. And I call this like an H2 tag. Anything with a caret, I call a tag, basically. So let's see. I'm going to add like something to it here. Say just like document get element by ID, right? And we'll say title, sure. And I want to, is append, is that a JavaScript method? Does anyone remember? Well,
Yes.
is it? Okay, great. So we'll say play now. Okay. So just when we run this file, right, it should do that. Okay, so, all right. Cannot read property append of null. Anybody, what does that error mean? What do you guys think the source of this error is?
Is it supposed to be append child?
Well, so it's saying property cannot read property append of null. So the issue really is that we have some, like, let's have you guys used this much, like the debugger? Let's see here. One sec. Let me put a console log here. Hello. Okay. I don't know why, but in Google sometimes like I have trouble like actually. Oh wait, there it is. Okay, good. So, well, let me refresh. Okay, so. Okay, so what I've done, this is a really great tool to use if you guys haven't like gotten much exposure to it yet. So I think a lot of you have gotten used to like, you know, changing the HTML and CSS using the inspector here on Chrome. But the JavaScript debugger is really cool because what it allows you to do is like if you just go to sources, you can go to the JavaScript file you're trying to run, and then you can just click a line number here, and the program will run until it hits that point. And when it hits that point, the program execution just stops. And then we can take a peek at the value of like all the different variables and everything. Yeah, so let's see. So you can skip here to the next function call, which should be just this line, right? You know, just some braces, or really this too. And then this button will just continue the execution all the way through, as if there's until the program is over or we hit another breakpoint. So I go to the next line here. So we get document. Then let me see the value of this in terminal. I mean, not in terminal, but in our console. So that's the source of that error, right? Like, let me continue it all the way through. So now we get cannot read property append of null. What do you guys think? The issue here is that we can't call append on something that's value is null, right? Append is a method available on HTML elements, right? On actual things. If we go, let's do it again. Let's load it up here. So we're paused here. And let's look at our document. So you see that because we put the script tag here, the browser evaluated the HTML from top to bottom. So once we hit this script tag, it just ran game.js, right? So the HTML hasn't been loaded all the way. So the browser hasn't been able to include all of this stuff in our document object model, right? Does that make sense to everybody? So that's why we put it down here. Now there's certain workarounds, right? Like we could put it down here, but have some of you guys seen this in class, like this kind of stuff of like window on load, right? Just to make sure that we don't run any of this JavaScript until the file loads up. Generally, I think you're more likely to see this than people necessarily just putting the script tags at the bottom in like real production stuff. Okay, so we move it to the bottom and let's see. Okay. So now it's paused in debugger. Let's take out this breakpoint. So you can take out the breakpoint just by clicking the line number, or you can go to the kind of sidebar here and just like take them out. So anyways, we play. Okay, so it added it. Great. So it worked. Everyone understand how that issue there? Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna take rid of this for now. All right. So let's see. We'll say play around here. Okay, so I'm thinking that we're gonna let people, we're just gonna play like 5 questions here. We'll just play, you know, we'll render 5 questions and yeah, we'll see if we can make the game any better than that. We'll see how much time we have. All right. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna go to this open trivia one. Where is it? Here we go. No API key. They're not worried about people taking too many questions, I guess. It's pretty chill. Okay. All right, so they even like let us, okay. All right, let's see. General, that's fine, any category, any difficulty. We'll give it more thought later. So they give us this API URL. Okay. So let's see. What do we do here? Can someone offer like kind of like what would be? Let's just first see before we actually try to like render it to our screen, to our website. Let's just try to see like the response here. Like, let's see what kind of thing we get back from Open Trivia. So what would be a first thing to do here? What do you guys think? How do we communicate with like other servers?
So do we just need to define the URL that we want to call and I guess make the method, we need to actually do the AJAX get and with the URL and the API key. Then we could just log the response to see what's returned.
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay, so we'll do an AJAX thing, right? So well, it's actually this, right? Okay, so AJAX, remember, it takes one argument. What is it here? What are the two? It takes an object as an argument. Does anyone remember kind of like the key value pair that it takes?
URL and method.
Yeah, that's right. So what's the URL really represent?
Where you're going to get the information from.
Yeah, exactly. it's basically like, so this is, you know, some almost like a nickname, basically like an alias for open trivia databases servers, right? We send a request here and then they respond back with, you know, stuff from their databases, from their servers. And okay. So, all right, so it's a key value pairs here. We can do not method, whoops. But URL, and then whoops, I wanted to do, we'll call this like query URL, right? And that makes sense because we're like querying their database. We're seeing what's in there. So we'll say query URL here. And what was the second argument?
Method.
Method, not an argument actually, because remember, this AJAX is only taking one argument here. It's taking a single object, but it has these two key value pairs. Now, what's method? We only have done.
We only have the one.
Yeah, so method is like, get would be like, right, like you log into Facebook, and when you log in, then Facebook sends, you know, then you'd be sending like a get request to get all your user data, right? Like your friends, your own profile pic, all that sort of stuff. Now let's say you went onto Facebook and created a new profile. That's a post request. That's a post method because we're creating new information on their servers. So get is when we're getting information from them. Post is when we're basically like creating new information and sending it to their database. So for the most part, we work with get, right? We're usually not in this class adding things to, you know, these big public APIs, but okay. So, all right. Now, what does then do here? So we usually just copy this boilerplate, like stuff from class. Okay, yeah, no, please. Someone had an explanation?
Well, then says to wait until you get the response back, then do the next step.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, communicating with their database takes some time, right? Like we have to send them a query. We send them a query and then, you know, they have to evaluate it. They have to sort through their whole database. And, you know, this can take, you know, a split second, or it can take, you know, 5 seconds. So, you know, this just tells us that when we get a response back from their database, then this AJAX function is going to pass the response into this function. And this is a really common thing. Like what I think of, like a lot of times you guys will see with this then statement, I kind of think like of what we do in here as kind of like creating a template, because like we're going to get some response back here. Let's first see that. So console log response here. Okay. And it should just go, right? So let's see. Share screen. Yeah, I know. So here we go. So we'll just, for now, right, it's going to pass the response into function, and we're just going to into the promise here. That's kind of like what they call it here. Oh, my meeting will end in 10 minutes. I guess I'll upgrade account, you know, it's a business expense, right? One sec, guys. It's kind of silly. Okay. I knew they were going to ask me, but it was only a matter of time. I like how they... one sec. Excuse me, guys. Whoops. One sec, guys. I'm just filling out some billing info off screen. Okay. Sweet. All right. It's all good now, guys. So sorry about that. All right. Let's go. Let's roll. Yeah, Donica Patrick. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Let's reload the page. Money sign is not defined. We get an error of here. What do you guys think the issue is here? We get this error message.
The jQuery script or CDN.
Yeah, that's right. Like AJAX is a jQuery thing. We've got the money sign here, which means that, so this is like our global, like a jQuery object, and AJAX is a method that's available to jQuery, right? So just real quick, it's one of those things that we kind of pass over. So like if we were to do like a function add here, just saying, and then we called like, we'll just say num, whatever. This would be a function because we can just call it by itself. A method is one that's defined on an object. So like would be like this. So then if we did like, var x equals new, object or something like that, then we could do x.add, because you see that add is, again, a method is just a function that's tied to an object. Okay, just to clarify. But anyways, so back to the matter at hand with jQuery. So we need to add the CDN. So let's go over here. jQuery CDN. I've done this before. Okay, so let's see. So remember, we have to make sure that the jQuery tag, the script tag for jQuery, is above where we're actually using jQuery. When you guys do like your full stack projects, you're not going to have to like start where we have so many files that are going into it. We're going to be able to move out of this system of using like script tags, act on script tags. Eventually, we'll use this thing that'll just like bundle them all into a single thing. Pretty cool, right? But anyways, so we got the jQuery tag. It's above our game thing. So let's see if it works. All right. So we still get an error here, but it says it's not a function. What do you guys think? So what I see with this error is it's saying, again, like, AJAX is not a function available on the $sign. Like, real quick, like, I'm just curious, like, could we do this? Like, if I did, like, console log, like, $sign, can we do that? Does that work? Does that, like, allow us to see jQuery? So indeed, right? We are able to, so we can see in console that we actually are able to view jQuery, this massive like function here. So, but the issue is like, so here's the thing with jQuery, why later in the course, you guys are gonna move to React, is that jQuery is like a massive library, right? It has so many different things on it, like append to, append on, append from. I don't think it has that many, but it has a lot of them. And so it takes browsers actually like a lot of time to load up jQuery. So they give us like these smaller versions of it to make it like more lightweight so they can run faster. So like AJAX is kind of like heavy duty. So I know that they actually put it in this uncompressed one that takes like, a little more time to load. but you know, we're not building like a search engine or anything, you know, like not even, you know, we're just not concerned with the time here. All right, so let's put it in here. Update it. Okay. All right. So there, look, we're able to see that's the jQuery object. Interesting, I never actually looked at it. Okay, but here's our response from Open Trivia, right? Right here. Okay. So they give us the results here. Okay. Somebody probably should turn off their mic. I mean, it sounds like they're making dinner. I don't know. I mean, what are you cooking? Curious. So, okay, let's see. So we see they were to give us back like some object, right? And basically everything in JavaScript that has like curly braces we think of as an object, right? It's like a big, but it's like, so the database returns all this to us in JSON, right? Like JSON is really just like a formatting, a way that we format data from a database, right? Because like if Open Trivia was just to give us this data in like whatever random formatting, we wouldn't be able to access it. Actually, one sec. Actually, one like thing that I think you guys are going to find really cool about like being developers is you'll see that these companies are really like campaigning for you. Like they want you to use their products as developers, you know, because that helps their product get better. It helps, you know, win the market, right? So, you know, like we see so many sites with Facebook authentication. In fact, I see like even more sites with Facebook authentication because like Facebook like tries to win this small battle in the internet that they want developers to think it's easier to use Facebook auth than Google auth. So I think like you'll see that's really fun, like as you're in this game of seeing like people, of seeing these companies basically like campaign for you to use their products, right? So they want to make them accessible to you. If, you know, this is the thing with like Google, is Google made some of its like APIs and things like that really hard to work with. So Facebook kind of won out on certain things. But anyways, that tangent aside. Okay, I'll share my screen again. All right, so they want to make their data accessible. So it's put in JSON formatting. That's just how we do, you know, how we can access it. So let's just think about like Google, for example. You know, we search something here. I'm just like really into parrots. I don't know why, but it's like been thinking about them a lot lately. So like we basically, when we search parrots right here, right? Google is sending some, we're sending some, they're doing some kind of like query of their own database, and then they're taking the results back, you know, after they get them back here. And they're kind of like, right? Like they're having like, these are like templates almost, right? Like that's what I think of us as doing inside of here, is like kind of creating a template often for the stuff that we're going to do, you know, for our results that we get back. Because like, we don't know how many we're going to get back. We might get 2 back. We might get, you know, 5,000. So, right, like they're going to take the title, they're going to, you know, put, you know, take the title and give it, you know, this CSS styling. They're going to put the description here. And, you know, there's like a whole art to all of this, actually. Like, this is like what SEO is about, is like, you know, you see how like certain ones only get like this much description versus like other ones get this much. That's like decisions that the people who made the sites did. So like, I would bet this site probably has like some really legit person doing it. Anyways, so, okay, so let's see. I'm going to so that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to build some, hold on, somebody should turn off their mic. It's like a lot of feedback. All right, so I'm going to take this response back and build some templating build some kind of template for. Everyone should turn off their mics. It's really like loud. Unless they have something to say. Okay, so get our response back, and we see, right, it's like an array of stuff here. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know how many things I'm going to, well, I actually know how many things I'm going to get back, right, because right here, they gave us some parameters to append on the end of our like, here's like where our database is at, right? You know, it's alias, and then we're sending kind of like arguments to it, which are these key value pairs. We call them like parameters. So it's saying like amount, and then we're saying amount equals 10, okay? So we're expecting, you know, that's why they only return us 10 questions here. Okay, so I'm gonna build, just start, you know, rendering them here. Okay, so we'll say, what was it? Response dot results. Okay. So I'm going to assign that to a variable here, and it should be an array, right? And then now I'm gonna loop through them, right? That would be a good way to like be able to reuse code. Is that I'm just gonna again create a template for each one, and then we'll kind of like dynamically add them, right? So let's see. Call it like var question div. I don't know, something like that. And how do I create an element in jQuery? Someone remember?
You put the
Get the
carrots
links.
around them.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, for sure. We put the carrots around it. If we don't put the carrots, then it looks on the DOM for a div. So carrots are important here. Okay. So, all right, let's see. So question div, and I'm going to do like question title, and that'll make like an H3. I don't know, something like that. Now, okay. So how can we, well, let's see. All right. So how could we set the text of our question title, right? Like, so I want to give it the category here. We'll say that. So maybe like category, I'll actually call this. How could we set the this H3 that we created? How could we give it, you know, this title? Well, we could call the .text method on it. Basically, and you know, like we could use HTML too, but HTML is going to be slower because what it's going to do is it's going to basically like look inside of here and format it as if it's HTML. So like if we just do like type in something here, like, you know, a question, this is kind of like inefficient because again, it's just going to print question, but it's first like looking at it as if it's HTML. So if you're just going to set the text of something, just use .text. And if this was JavaScript, right? Can we do text content here? No, right? Because text content is only available on, you know, the DOM, not jQuery objects. This is vanilla JavaScript, this text content. So .text. And I saw it was, I'm going to create my loop here, actually, real quick. So for I, right, where our loop starts, the starting point of a loop. And now a really common pattern we see is that we're going to run the loop just through our array. So we can do like results.length. So results.length should be 10. So when we get to 9, right, it'll stop, right? And we won't go out of index on our array. So we go I++ here, okay. Now I'm going to put this inside here because again, like we want to reuse this code so that we can just do it, you know, dynamically, you know, save more lines of code. Okay, so results, right? So again, results is an array. So we're just taking an array of objects and we're just looking at each one here. Okay, so in fact, like in general, like good code should be readable. I think like one mistake that I see, you know, because we could just do this, right? One mistake that I feel like a lot of beginners do is that they think it looks smoother to chain a bunch of things on here. So variable assignment doesn't take the computer virtually any energy. So I would always like kind of like err on the side of doing more lines of code, but then using like really descriptive variable names and functions to do it. Like I think of like good code as like you don't need comments because it's so readable. So like right here, rather than like results I, like if you were just looking at this program for the first time, like what it is kind of unclear. So I'm going to take that out of here actually and say like var question. And then because we're going to reuse this, and now it just becomes like more clear what's happening. Does that make sense to everybody? So I think like just err on the side of more things here. Okay. Question category or question div. Okay. So now let's see what that looks like real quick. I mean, none happened here. What do you guys think the issue is? It fired off the request. We can still see it. Hey, and they're different questions. That's actually kind of cool. What do you guys think?
In the loop, it should be response.length.
What do you mean? Respond? Well, let's see. No, because like, right? Because response.length, if we were to do that, let me put a breakpoint here. Look at my game.js. I don't know why it keeps showing me this. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. So again, like, all right, so now you see we're paused in the debugger and we're in the middle of our AJAX call. So we can see our response. So response.length is undefined. We can't call length on response because it's an object. Response length is a property defined on arrays. So that's why we did this response.results.length, right? That's why we assigned it to here. Well, the issue is that we never actually added it, right, to the DOM. Like we created this little div here, but we didn't actually add it to the DOM. So, you know, that's what I'm gonna do right here. Got this div ID questions. Okay. So I'll add it to that. We'll say question div, or we'll say like question. Yeah, I'll say another one here. So I'll say like var question body. I don't know. Equals. What did we call it? Questions. Okay, sure. Okay. Oh, and I guess I want to put the question category inside of our question div actually. So I'm going to do question div dot append question category. Okay. So I'm thinking that we're going to have like a little div just with our h3 inside. Okay, so now I can append our question div to the actual thing on the DOM. So I'm going to take out this debugger real quick. So I get an error message and it didn't do anything. Let me put another breakpoint here again. If you guys see the error, you know, speak out. So we hit here. Let me see what this question body value is. So you see, I can see it in here, and I'm going to pop over to our console. And right, like I only have access to question body inside of this function. That's why DevTools is so great, because like if I didn't have this breakpoint here, if we tried to like just do console after this program had fully run, question would come up as undefined, because again, it's a variable local to this scope right here. So this is really cool. So let's see what question body is, because again, we're right here in the code. We haven't completed it yet, so you can still view it. So question body. So everything in jQuery, right, returns an array. Even if it's a single object, it returns an array. So we see that like there's no object here. The length of the array they give us back is 0. So we're not selecting it properly. That's what I think. Okay, we need the hashtag, right? It's an ID, right? If it was a class, right, it's a dot. Okay, well, let's go back here. So let's hit it again. Let's see question body, what's the value? Okay, so we see, right, like we have an array with one item in here, right? And there it is. So now we can actually grab it. Okay, great. So let's play plain. Allow. All right, so look, we got our little divs here with each thing defined. All right. All right. Let's see what else we can do here. What's the results thing look like again? So let me inspect. There's our object that we get in response, right? Okay, so let's put the question under it, right? It's kind of like important information. Okay. So we have our question category here. And now we'll do like var, you know what, I'm going to call this just category. Yeah, no. I kind of like, can I use like I feel like, no, never mind. So anyways, so like our question, you know, I'm going to call this like question field. I like that more. I don't know. And then we'll call this like our question body, like our actual question. What did they call it here? Oh, so they reference it by question. That's what it is in this object. Okay, so we'll make this a, let's see, results, right? So let's make it like just a P, right? Just something like that. And we'll do like dot text, and then make it our question dot question, right? And then make sure to append it. So okay. So let's see. Let me see. I'm going to take out this breakpoint. Maybe I already took it out. Oh, it's still there. So I'll just get it. Okay, there it is. It's a little weird. All this here. Okay. But the other thing I noticed is that these things are on top of the questions. So like when you use append, what it does is it adds things to the bottom of the div, right? So like, let's see like the elements here. Let me just say like, see what this thing looks like. So, right, we have all our divs here. So we appended this first and it put it inside the div, and then it made, or we appended the question category second. So, all right, we want to do it first. Okay, so let's see it again. Okay, so what is like this issue? I think that probably some special characters. Oh, you know what this issue is right here is that they didn't, when they like uploaded these things to their database, they didn't like escape the quotation marks, right? So they did something like, you know, they wanted to do something like this, but they forgot to add in like the escape sequences. You know, you have to do this, you know, like, but yeah. Anyways, so, all right, I'm not gonna worry about that right now. We're just trying to get this thing rendering well. All right, so, you know, generally like the arc of your projects, I think is like after you get it rendered is refactoring. Now, I think of refactoring usually as like taking code like this and, you know, putting it into other functions, you know, putting it into functions that are like descriptive. So that's what I might do right here is like, I might have like a function like make question, I don't know, make question. And then I could say like, we pass in a question, sure. And then maybe I'd move like all this code in there, right? And then I could do something like, oh, well, you know what? Now, the inefficient thing is that so let me see if this works first. So let's see if we still like get it going. All right, so it's still all renders, okay. Now, the one thing I notice is that like it's kind of inefficient here because we grab this thing here, right? Like, so let's think. Like if I put a breakpoint here, right? Now I'll reload again. Here's how I'll put a breakpoint there. Okay, so let's play through, right? So we hit it here, okay. Now it adds one, adds another, right? We're going through the loop here. But you know what I notice is like every time we go through the loop right here, we're querying the DOM to find this same question field. Can you see how like duplicative that is to like, because like every time we go through the loop, we're grabbing this thing. So you know what? I might even just pass it in once, okay? Because like in general with JavaScript, the slowest thing in JavaScript really is like, it's not assigning variables. It's not, you know, that takes 0 time. Adding two things together takes 0 time. Calling functions takes 0 time. You know, the slowest thing in JavaScript really is just, and jQuery, is actually like querying the DOM. like finding a particular thing on the page. So that's what we want to avoid doing as much as possible. So, all right. So that's why, like, instead, maybe I'll take this out of here and I'll put it up here. Okay. And now, you know what we could do here is, so we have it here, we do it once. First, you know, I wanted to I was considering like passing it in every time, something like that. But that seems just kind of like pointless to like every time pass the same value into something. In programming, we call that like coupling. Coupling is like a bad thing in programming, to have like two things. Like if you had like a start date and end date, and like you made them separate arguments that you pass into a function, that would be really bad practice, because, you know, if you didn't have the end date or you didn't have the start date, the other thing is worthless, right? It would just throw up problems. So a better way to do that maybe would be to pass like a single date range variable, because then you never are going to have to worry about like, you know, one variable being undefined and then the other one not working. So that's why I don't want to pass in question field here, because then it's just like if we don't pass in field correctly, it's just going to be a problem. So I'm going to put it up here. So our question field, again, is just like this area on the whole page where we're going to display our questions. Okay, so let's see. Got a question here. You know what we'll do? We have question field here. We'll take this line out here. So we pass in the question. Okay. Whoops. You know what we could do is we'll say like, we'll make this our question block. I don't know, we'll just call it that. All right, and then we'll do question field, the actual thing on the DOM, and we'll append our question block. Right, so this is a little more comprehensible, right? Okay, so let me get rid of this breakpoint here. Okay. So now nothing rendered. What do you guys think this problem? What do you guys think we could do to figure this out? Well, I'm thinking we put a breakpoint right here. Okay, and we'll see if everything's working as it should. All right, so we see our question, we have it working here. Now let's go to the next line here. So we see question block is undefined. That's the issue, is we're appending, our question field is defined, that's right, but we're appending an undefined here. You see how cool this is, right? To see like a snapshot of all the variables. Why is this undefined question block? It's because so right here we're doing assignments, right? We're assigning the return value of this function to question block. So right now, we're not returning anything. That's why it's coming up as undefined, right? So like a lot of functions don't return anything, right? They'll just, if we console log something, right? You know, if we console log hello, well, let me just, one sec. While we're in browser, let me pop over here. So like, let's just say I create like some like dummy function, like say, you know, word, right? And then say, or well, actually, let me assign this to some variable. Well, I don't know if I need to actually. So if I do like say word, and then here we'll say console log word, and you see it's really cool. You can like define things in browser, right? So say, okay, right, just a declaration, right? We're not actually running the function. So if I did like say, and then passed in, so just in general, right, for you guys, like to me, this is a parameter. Like when we have a function just definition like this, you know, we're defining say, like this is a parameter, and like programmers just like use them interchangeably. But I think of like the thing that when we actually run the function, execute it, this is an argument. Like, so like a parameter is kind of like the definition. The argument is like actually when we execute it. So if you see, it prints hello, but then it actually returns undefined because we created this function just for like the side effect of printing something to console. So the issue here is that we have to return question div. That's what we actually want, right? We want our like question block. We want that like HTML, you know, jQuery thing here. So let's do this and see if that fixes it. All right, so let me take out that breakpoint here. I'll reload. Okay, so now it all worked, right? Because we just took the return value and assigned it, right? So, okay. All right, so let's see. So we got them all rendering, sure. Now, you know what I think I'm gonna do is, you know what? Let's add a class to all of these. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but anything with it. But question div. How do you add a class in jQuery? So this is the life of a developer, especially one that uses jQuery. It's just like endless Googling the like syntax of the stuff. It's not something you ever have to memorize, right? Like this is what Google is for like stuff like this. So we can just, all right, we can just add class, great, sure, all right. So we'll say add class, and I'll say like, and say like question, I don't know. So this is questions. We'll say this is, yeah, our question, whatever, it's fine. Okay, this is a class, this is an ID, it's fine, it's not too close. So, all right. Okay, so you know what I'm thinking that we're gonna try to implement now is we're gonna put like, cause like, we're gonna put, let me move this that way. What I wanna do here is like, add like a click thing so that when we click on this, it tells us the answer. It replaces like the thing with the answer. You know, right? So like you can play a game with yourself, you know, open trivia and chill. Okay. Okay, so let's see here. So you know what? I'm gonna add a class here. Let's define some stuff here. We'll say, was it question? And I'll say like border 2px solid gray. So it's cool. Gray is just like a keyword in CSS. Like sometimes you don't have to do like the hex or RGB, whatever values. So, okay, question. And I'm going to say like for our font family, sans serif. We'll make this thing very official, like Times New Roman. So any of you guys seen this, like of having like things like multiple things, multiple values really for like a CSS property? Why do we do this? Anybody?
In case it's not available on a person's computer.
Yeah, exactly right. So basically your browser first tries to do Times New Roman. If it doesn't have Times New Roman, it does sans serif. So some of you guys might know by day, like I kind of work in like the web accessibility space. So this is like a big deal to me. Like when you make websites like Facebook that are used by people all around the world, and sometimes on like really crappy internet, and you're helping people that are older, senior citizens that work with like Internet Explorer 8. It's really something you should think about, like making applications in CSS that can be used by like the widest range of browsers, because like technology really like forces us to think about accessibility in a broader way than the physical world. Like it's not just if a person is blind, like, or in a wheelchair, like it's if someone speaks a different language, if someone has slow internet, someone just doesn't understand like things like a carrot coming like a hamburger menu, they don't understand that breaks into a menu. So like give that thought. All right, preachiness aside, let's get back in here. Okay, so anyways, that's what that backup value is for. Chance for me to, I hate that word evangelist, but I guess that's what I am, right? For accessibility. So okay, so we're going to apply that class here to each one. Let's see how that looks. Okay. Wanting to do it. What's the deal here? Not happy. So it has the question here. What's the deal? Oh, so we never pulled the script tag in here. That's our deal. Let's put it up here. So link CSS. I like how they fill that in for me. I'm going to be so organized to have a CSS folder. Who do they think they're dealing with? So anyways, okay. So style.css. Okay. All right. So let's reload it now. Okay, cool. So we get these borders here. You know what? I'm going to put a little padding around them. Like not a padding, right? Because what does padding do? Like, let's see. If I made like question, let me pop open question. If I gave it like padding, 5px. See, what it does is it just makes the actual element bigger. What I want to do is like put some space between them. So let me see. Instead of that, maybe I'll try like margin bottom 5px. Wait, what's this? Oh, they put it up here. Let me take this one out. All right, cool. I like that. That looks better. 5px, sure. Let's do it. So that's a really common thing. And like, I really like how Google does it, because like, if you like copy this code, like a lot of times that's what you'll do, right? Is like, you'll see something you like and kind of like look at how they did it. Is you can just paste it right into your CSS. And look, the thing that we X'd out, they actually comment out for us. Making it easy. I like it. So anyways, I'm going to get rid of this. Or whoops. Or, yeah, no, I don't want that, right? Okay. So now when they click on this, what I want to do is make it show the answer. Okay? All right. So let's see here. We're looking at our make question here. So I'm thinking inside of here that we add our event handler. You know what? Omar, I think, would holler at me if I didn't do like this document.ready thing, right? It's kind of like how we're supposed to do it as good jQuery developers. So I'm going to actually put all this in there. Okay. Right, just double checking, making sure that basically the document is loaded up before we do all this stuff. Okay. So, and also, by the way, guys, like before you like push your final copy of something, like production, make sure to take out the console logs. Just looks to me like whenever I pop open somebody's like thing and like see a bunch of like stuff in here, I'm just like just make it look really clean at the end and just take out the console logs, because like a good like We're developers who know how to debug without using something as blunt as console log, you know?
For homework too, do you want us to do that, or is this a later thing?
I'm saying when you, no, I mean, that's an interesting question. I want you guys, so just in general, when you guys like finally, or when you guys are done with a project, I think what you guys should do is remove the console logs, all of the stuff that you did just to make sure it works. I think like a good website, a good application should have a clear console when you open it up. You know, like if you guys ever go to like, if you guys are like me, well, I shouldn't, why am I saying this? Like, but you know, I go to a lot of websites that host movies and other TV shows that they may not have a license to. And if you look at like them in console, you'll see like so much like broken stuff. Like you'll see so many like errors and things like that, like because they're just crappy websites that they, you know, start up for like a day. Like, but like if you look at like a really nice site, like it'll just be a clear console. So just take them out. And then so I'm just saying when you're finally done with the homework, take the console logs out and make sure to include like a README. The README, like, so like no one really looks at your actual code. They just tend to look at like the cover page of it. And I always tell everyone that the cover page can be like a really good sales pitch for yourself. So like I made this thing like a while back and ended up just like getting a lot of attention just for like the, you know, for the README, right? Like I used it to feature like code snippets of things that like I worked hard at, that I was proud of. And then you like explain it. So like this is really a great chance to show that like you guys are not just like code monkeys, but you know, like problem solvers. Like you're capable of explaining something to the next person. So like really use these READMEs as like a cover page to sell yourself and your ability, you know, to explain and all that, you know? Anyways, let me close this. So, all right, so we're gonna add the click handlers on it. And yeah, okay. So we have our question div here, and I'm gonna make question div. How do we add like a click handler on our like on these things? How do we add like a click handler on this div using jQuery? All right, let's look it up. Let's see. Dot click. Let me use on click. I like that one. Okay, so we'll say question div dot on click. And what did it say? So we do on, so this is what we're listening for, and then the actual function, the handler, like how we should handle the event. Okay, like we're listening for an event and then how we should handle this event. Now I don't actually have to pass in event here because like I'm not actually going to use the event, right? Like if we were doing key press, then we would want to use the event, right? Like it automatically, on all this stuff, automatically passes an event into the function block here. But we're not using it, so I think I can just take it out, you know? Sometimes I like to just put it there just to like kind of like make it obvious to me, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so on click, what do we want to do here? Is we want to see the value of, I mean, not the value, we want to see the answer. What do they call it? Correct answer. All right, it's kind of lame, but whatever. So question div on click, okay. So on click, maybe I could make, so maybe we could do empty, right? We could like empty out the question div, and we could assign it here dot html dot text. We'll say question dot correct answer. All right, so let's see if that works here. Just real quick. So we call it through. If I click on it, it becomes souls. Okay, so that worked, right? Now, this is really inefficient, actually, because like you think about it, what are we doing right here? It's like this is kind of like next level jQuery, right? Is that 10 times we're creating some click handler. This is like, it's really inefficient, when in fact, we could do something like this. Like, we could just say, let's make another function here, and we'll say, why did I delete that? I might actually want this code. Well, screw it. So I'll say function add click, okay? And now, or handle click. And instead, what we could do is, instead of adding it on every one, we could leverage that on thing. So we could do like dot question. So like, this is like, so with jQuery, it's always faster to do like chain functions on here rather than do like really like long queries here. So we want to leverage this. So I could say on click, and then I could say function here, and then now, you know what we could do here is, so we could either write, like the way we had it before, right, was like we were basically doing it every time inside of here. You know what instead we could do is, like a really common thing that you'll see developers do is they store information on the actual HTML elements, okay? Now, maybe that wouldn't be good practice for this, right? Because we're like trying to conceal the answer, but it's just we're just demonstrating. So let me show you what I mean. Because then what we could do here is like, let me say we do this. Like if I do console log this. All right, let's run it back. Well, actually, I don't think I actually call this function anywhere. So let me just, we'll run it right here inside of here. Okay. All right. So now I'll click on this. It just did. And you see, I clicked on it, and this is actually the thing that we clicked on. General knowledge. So this is actually like a much better way of doing things. Like, so like this is kind of like in simple, like, right? So like JavaScript, this is the scope associated with like where the function was called, right? The object where the function was called. So like if we call it on the browser, right? That's on the window object. Like if I just did something like right here, right? If I went like this, it's our window. So just kind of similar in jQuery, right? Because like to me, it's like this is from the thing that the actual HTML, it's like this is the HTML element that it's associated with. All right, so what I think I'm gonna do here is instead I'm gonna like store the correct answer in the HTML. That's what I'll do real quick. All right, so let's see. Okay, so we'll say here, so we have our question div. I'm going to add an adder on it. I'm going to add an attribute on our question div and say dot adder, and I think it was question dot correct answer. Now let's try it again. Whoops, elements. Where is it? Where's the damn questions? What's the deal? Oh. When we do a dot adder, if we put in a single thing, it looks for that value. Whereas if we put 2 arguments, then we can set it. So I need to do like answer here, let's say. So now we get the answer, you see, and it's stored on as an attribute on there. Really common way to do things. Okay, so now I'm going to say, when we click on it, we'll do this dot empty, whoops, which again just like clears out the HTML of this element. And we'll say this dot text equals what were you calling it? Oh yeah, we're going to reference it like this, like dot adder answer. Kind of ugly, but whatever. Let's see if it works. So there it is, it goes, boom. Now this is a lot faster because like, what have we done here is that we've only actually created 1 click handler, not 10. Does that make sense, everybody? We've called, like, we have 1 click handler on question, and then we're handling the click by like looking at exactly what we clicked on. So instead we didn't have to create 10 click handlers like we did before. That's a lot faster and a lot smoother jQuery. So that's a wrap for that. Okay. Anybody have any questions about this one? No?
Can you make it available to us so that we can look at it some more?
Yeah, for sure. I'll zip it up and send it out to all of you at the end.
Thank you.
Okay. One other thing I want to do here is, let me see. So, we're getting to the end of, the review session. So like, I feel like those of you that are still here, like, are really passionate about this. And like, we should do something kind of like not mission critical, like something that's interesting and will kind of like add to our understanding. So like one wrap, I think, on like bootcamp grads is that they don't understand like they can code. In fact, I've heard that people that go to coding boot camps actually have more readable and better looking code than like people who went to graduate from CS, right? Which makes sense, right? Because we're getting a training that's just to be ready on the job, But the downside to being a bootcamp grad is that like people think that you don't understand CS fundamentals because, right, we move at such a breakneck pace that we kind of like don't think that much about that stuff, like we're just focused on like getting a really good looking portfolio because at the end of the day, most of you are probably going to be hired as front end developers, not back end or something like that, that's thought to be more quantitative or whatever. I don't know. So I had an interview a while back that I thought was like really informative. We made our own array class. We made like our own array object from scratch. And I think it'll help you guys understand like behind the scenes how like data structures work, like, and think about like, we're starting to get into algorithms and we're starting to think about like time complexity. Now, time complexity is like the worst case, the number of operations it takes for a computer to accomplish something, right? So let's see real quick. Let me share screen. All right, so I'm gonna make a new file in here. New file, yes. I'm gonna call this array.js. And I'm gonna just put it on here just like for dummy purposes. Like so that we can like, I don't know, maybe I'll want to do something with it on the DOM. I don't know. But anyways, so I want to make our own, so like, right, if we did like this, like var x equals array, we could do like x.push 4. Let me just open this up real quick. Go to open our browser, sure, okay. Okay, so this is where I really want you guys to like chime in, okay? No matter, just really helps, you know, the more conversation, the better, I think here. You know, the more like kind of, the more mistakes we make, the more that we can avoid when we're being interviewed for a 6-figure job, right? That's my philosophy. So let's see here. So let's create like an array here, just like a make-believe array. So we have like R here as undefined, it returns undefined. So if I do R, it returns an array, right? Does that make sense to everybody? So that's why we can take the return value. When we do this array literal, it returns an array and assigns it to R, okay? Now, we can do like r.push 4, right? And then we see it returns. What is this number? What does it return?
The number of things in the array.
Yeah, exactly, right? And we can see the array has been changed. It includes 4 now, right? So I'm going to make our own array class. Let's do that. So I'm going to make a function here to start, okay? And we'll call this homemade array. Actually, can we think of something better than that? How about like disarray? Kind of funny, right? I'll take it. So disarray, and really common thing that you'll see for developers is, you know, and they'll say var test here equals disarray. So I want this array, I want test to equal this. Test should equal array. So what do we have to do inside of disarray? Well, we have to make sure the function here returns an array, right? So we could just do this, right? If I did that, now let me go into here. I'm going to see. I did a console log here. Did I take all the console logs out of here? Good. So there's test, right? We actually returned it. Now, if we were going to like operate on this array, not very easy to reference it, right? So like, let's make a function push here. And we'll say you can take, you know, an L, for, like short for element, right? And we'll say, now how can we add it to this? Well, we have no way to reference this inside a push, right? So how could we make this something that we could reference inside of here? What do you guys think? So I want to be able to I want to be able to change the array inside of here, right? So test is supposed to be an array, and then I want to be able to call test.push 4, and then I want this to equal 4.
Did you not want to make a variable then?
Yeah, we could make a variable. That sounds great. So that's what I think I'll do here, is I'm going to make it like this dot store, right? We use this. I call it store just because it's like that's where we're going to contain all this stuff. And then now we could do this, right? And I'm calling it this dot store because I mean, I'm returning it at the end here. So let's see real quick. So same deal, still worth the same thing here. Okay. And as 0 is 4, right? Because we just call push on an array. That was it. All right. Well, let me see some real quick, actually. It's kind of curious. It makes me interested here. If we did like console log hello, would that print? No, that's weird. It's because it's looking for the array thing on here. So, you know what? Well, let me see. Well, if I did like this array, no, push, yeah. Okay, let me see here. So trying to think like why we're not being able, when we do test.push, to see that. I think it's, so let me just say, you know what? If I did this, then is it going to work? Can I repush if undefined? No, because we're setting it to this value here. But I'm thinking like, now it works, but then we're getting test.push. Do I need to like do this thing kind of thing here? Like say it's a constructor. Is that gonna like, no. All right, let me see how to override this real quick. Like override array class, I don't know, JavaScript. Make your own array JavaScript. Okay, cool. See if that. So they're saying they want us to do it this way. If we do like a function factory method, okay, let's try this code real quick. So we'll create my function extended array here. I don't think you need, and then let's see my extended array. Let's see if that works. And then array push, say arg1. Let's see if that works. Mm-hmm. Very nice. Good, good, good. Nice. So we see that it actually, like, when we made it into a function expression here, it was able to override like the push. Does that make sense, everybody? Because like when we were doing it just as a function declaration, it was looking at this array and thinking that we were calling like the built-in push method defined on arrays. But really, we want to like define our own one right here, right? That's our goal. Okay, so let's try to make an array push thing here. How would you guys do it? So, right, like if we have like var x equals this, right? Then x dot push for, it adds it to the array and then returns the length. How could we do that? Well, for starters, right, we have to add it to our array, right? So how can we do that? The issue here is that we don't know, right? So our array is empty. But we don't know it in here. How can we do it? I mean, obviously, right? If I just did this, then console log it again, we get push, and we see the array has it, right? We can see test here. It includes 4. And push strangely. What do you guys think? And you like that? The test is, so even though this thing is in the array, it's actually just a method defined on test. So it's actually not included in an array. But how can we make this scalable? Because, right, like we're not always going to be adding it. Like if I did this, then we see it overrides it, right? So how could we add it in there, but nowhere? What do you guys think?
Okay, this is a guess, but some kind of return statement there to add it in.
So that's you talking, Jane?
That's me, Jane.
Yeah. So so the issue, Jane, that I'm trying to point out here is we're going to add it to our array, but how do we know what index to add it at? Because when we push it on, right, we put it on as the last element. So if it's empty, it's 0. If there's one element in there and we push it on there, it's going to be at an index 1, right?
Right.
So how can we decide what index to put it at?
Could you try doing array.length plus 1 or something like that to figure out to add it onto the last, whatever the next value would be?
You could do that, right? But Janelle, the thing that I'm trying to do here is how can we do it without, we're trying to make like our own stuff, our own properties and methods on our array object. We don't want to use any of arrays built-in stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but I think you had absolutely the right idea, is that we want to use the length of the array somehow.
I'm guessing how about 0, 6?
No, well, no, because like the thing is I see what you're saying, that you're thinking like, we'll take like something like that, but it just doesn't work that way with arrays. Is we just have to assign it to a particular index. So one thing I know about arrays, you notice, is that like, let's say again, we make an array here. We'll say like 1, 2, whoops, is 1, 2, 3, whoops. Here we go. So x dot length.
We can't see it, Aaron.
Well, thank you for that. Okay, so right, we make an array here, var x, and then we make it x dot length, and then we do x dot length, and it gives us the length here. So you know what I notice here is that length, it's not a function, right? Like we're not doing like x dot length. I wonder if you can even do that. What are we going to get here? See, it's not a function. It's a property defined on your array. Does that make sense, everybody? So maybe what we could do here is when we initialize our array, we can set the length. We can record it. Okay? So now inside of here, when we push something on, we can do length we could do array length equals, call it L, equals L. And you see now we've been able to use this. So then after we push, okay, let's see now. Let me just look at this real quick. Okay, so let's see. And then we want to return the length, right? Well, let's just first see if it added, okay? This should be okay. Let's see. So we got 4. They added it. It worked. Everybody see that? So we were able to add it, you see, without using the push thing. But let me try it again. Let's see, what if we did this? So what are we expecting? What do we want the value to be here? We want it to be this, right? We push one value, we push another, and it should work, right? But we just replaced it. What's the issue here? What do you guys think?
There was no counter on the length. It stayed at 0.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe if we push something, we want to do that, right? And then moreover, we could return the length. So let's try it now. So there, it worked. We were able to push it in each time. And let's say we do, so there's test. Say we do test.push 5. And then it returns the length. Right?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so let's see here. Let's do another one here. We got, how about array dot index of? Do you guys remember that one? What does index of do on an array? Well, like, let's see, if we made like, again, like, let's say var x, if I did like x index of 2, what response back are we going to get?
3.
Well,
Wait, sorry.
well, what 2 does is, what index of does is, if this element, so it takes an argument, so it's a method defined on arrays, x is an array, it takes in an argument here, and if it's in the array, it returns that index. And if it's not in the array, so there, that's the index. And if we search, one that's not in the array, it returns -1. Okay? So let's make that real quick here, right? So what we're gonna do here is just go through the array, right? So var I equals 0, I equals length. Remember, we don't have to do array.length because we just have the variable. I plus plus, and we'll say, let me say like IDX equals -1. That's going to be our default. If we don't find anything, it's not going to change the value. So we'll say if array I equals L, the value that we passed in, IDX equals I, where we are in the array, and we'll return IDX. Okay. So let's see here. So, all right. Now let's see, we have test here. Let's see test 6. Test is not a function. Oh, because index of, there we go. So there, it worked, right? Nice. All right, so that was pretty straightforward, this one. Oh, by the way, you notice I do the 2 equal signs, just make it easier. One thing that you guys that's actually just kind of interesting about arrays is, let's say we make a variable called like var y or var num equals 15. Okay? Let's say var num2 equals 15. If we do num, what is this what is this gonna evaluate to? So this is a comparison, right? We're saying, is this strict without dat, right? So if we use 2 equal signs, well, what is the difference between 2 equal signs and 3 equal signs?
2 just checks for the value, but 3 will check, is like more strict. It'll check for the value in the same type. So like it has to be a string.
Yeah, exactly. So like if we did this, true. But if we do this, whoops. If we do this, false. But one interesting thing is about arrays is, let's say we do this. So, whoops. Actually, let me clear console here. All right, there we go. So var y, var x, I should say. Now let me make var y. What do you think the value of this is going to be, guys? It's going to be false. Now, why is that? Is because when you make an array, let me pause up. When you make an array, what's really happening is that your computer is setting aside some part of RAM, some little tiny part of RAM, and giving your array a specific ID, a specific location in your memory. So when we create 2 variables here, when we create these, even though they're the same array, they're actually unique points in memory. So like when we compare them, we're actually comparing the memory like location. So they'll never be the same. And that's true of objects as well. The only thing that we can do this with is with strings and numbers, that you can do like strict comparison, comparison like this. Okay? So again, like arrays setting aside a specific place in memory. All right, so back to here. Last one I want to do for the day. I want to make an array.shift method. Okay, and doesn't take an argument, right? Now, any of you guys remember what shift does? So again, this is our array x. So we do x.shift. Let's see, x. So what it does is it gets rid of the first element, and then it moves them over, right? Or it returns the rest of the array, right? Does that make sense? Okay, so let's try to make that happen real quick. All right, so we get var array here. We want, whoops, actually no. So what do you guys think we should do in here? We're trying to return the first element, and then we're trying to remove it too. What happens if we have like an empty array? Let me just curious. Like var z equals this. What if I do like z.shift? Doesn't do anything. Okay. All right, so let's see here. If we want to get rid of the first element, well, all right, well, we could just do like array 0. And what, can we delete it? Well, it's set to null. And then, well, actually, we need to hold on to that value, right? So like, and then, so does this make sense to everybody that we're holding on to the value, holding on to it here, then we're setting it to null, and then we're returning the value that we basically deleted here. So let's see at this now. Let's try, let's add a few more of these things. 8, 9, now I'm gonna do test.shift here. We're gonna do test.shift here. So let's think like, so I'm gonna console log test here, even though we said we wouldn't do it, but all right. So right here, we expect test to be, we want it to be equal to this, right? Because we put the 4 on first. So let's see. So we just set it to null though. We didn't actually like delete the element here. Everyone see that? So what I think we're gonna have to do here is, again, leverage our length somehow. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make like an old array equals array. Okay. And now what I'll do is if length equals 0, we'll just return. Does that make sense? So like if the array is empty, just return. Don't do anything. And this will return undefined, I think. Now, otherwise, I think what we're going to want to do is fill this array here. So maybe we could do a for loop here. Do var I equals 1, I length I plus plus. And now we'll say, you know what, actually, whoops. So we have old array here. You know what we're going to do is now we'll say well, all right, we'll say array I equals old array, or I guess I should say, you know what? We can do this, I think. We could do like J, or wait, we'll call this one like old. We'll call this one new. We'll call it like 1. Can we not do like dual things here? Oh, do they not like new? Does it have to be like newer? Is that going to work? Can you do like multiple variable assignment, for loop, JavaScript? All right, so they're saying that we have to declare it up above it. So if I went like var old, var newer, do they not like that? Do I have to do it on separate lines? Okay, and then I can do like old, newer. All right, so cool. So now the old one is going to be 1, but newer is going to be 0. And we want this to go until we get to the end of old. Does that make sense? So I'm thinking old array, old, newer. Does that make sense, everybody? Something like that, maybe. And then let's see now what happens. Okay, so we get, first when we console logged it, I wanted to take out the 6. And we'll just have the 4. So something's not right. So console log test, let me see real quick. So we have 4, 6, and then we do .shift, and it replaces both of it with it. So we go through the loop here. Old, newer. Oh, because the thing is, what is the issue here? Is that array is a unique place in memory. So this array has, you know, what we've done is we've only replaced one element. We didn't actually change the length of the array. So you know what? I think we could do this. We'll make like a var new array here. And I'll set it to and we'll make it array. Can we set the length on an array? How do we do that? JavaScript, declare array length. Okay, so maybe we could do this then. So I'm going to put this at the top of our code, right? Because like if the length is 0, we don't want to do anything. But here, what I'm going to do is new array. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to do new array. Newer. That's such a crappy name. So, called like, actually, I'm just, that's fine. New IDX, old IDX, old IDX, IDX, IDX. All right. So now, oh, damn it. Okay. And now I think at the end, since we have a new array, maybe we can just do this. Can actually just set it as the value here. Oh, and then we also, when we deleted the element, we wanted to return that. So let me make another variable here. We'll say var deleted L. Since we know it's not 0, we know it doesn't have length 0, there is going to be a first element. Now let's see. Old is not defined. Where is that shit? Damn it. There we go. All right. So look, it worked. Nice. All right, everybody. I'm going to close this for now. Anyways, hey guys, it's been here a long time. I'm going to let's call it a wrap for tonight. I really appreciate all of you coming through. You know, I just appreciate the energy you guys bring to this class, and it makes, you know, my job fun. And, you know, I like teaching, and whatever effort you guys put into this class, you know, I want to get back to you. So like, if you guys put a lot of work into your project, always feel free to send it over, and I'll take a look and provide comments or whatever, you know, whether I'm your TA or not, you know. So I'm a resource for you. Okay. All right, guys. So please go the hell to bed, and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. I'll see you around. And I'll send you the code, everything. All right. Bye, guys.